All right, let's look at a chord melody thing on this, because the way it's originally played in, like, say, Gene Kelly version, the chorus really is a two chord song. You can really do the whole thing. Just, I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain, what a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. And just hang on that D until you're back to the G and keep going from there. But this is also a good tune to look at a couple of these passing chords, and you hear it start coming in, especially when the tune is done a little bit later on, and especially when jazz people play it. But one of the things that we talked about with You Are My Sunshine is using diminished chords as little passing chords. And this is a tune where I'm just going to use a diminished chord a couple of times, but it's really kind of key because it doesn't use, the melody is actually the same notes of the scale. You're not, the melody stays the same, and the diminished chord is taking care of these internal harmonies. And this is the most effective way to use diminished chords, so that it's not a moment where the melody is, where it suddenly draws attention to itself. It's not like a glaring thing. It's just this undercurrent of these internal harmonies, and I'll show you what I mean. So I've written this little chord melody etude of this tune, and my hope is that it can be played slowly and at a tempo that works for you, but it's also going to work nicely up tempo, because I'm using open strings when possible, and I'm also trying to really think about what positions I'm sliding to. So there are a couple of things that we're gonna work on this. One is going between this type of movement where I'm playing a G triad. Again, that's a G triad, first inversion on the top 3 strings. Then I play this quick little D7, and then to a G triad up here. That's a G drop 2. We explained the drop 2 on the first class, and we're going to get into it in every single lesson. In this case, I'm spelling this drop 2 voicing as the 3, a B chord, a B note, G, the root, and D, the 5. But they're separated. They're not just in thirds. You've got a 6th and a perfect 5th. That's the great thing about drop 2s. As soon as you get into, it immediately sounds like it's opening up the tune. And they're also really convenient, I think, in terms of left-hand fingering. So from the beginning, I've got a D written up here, and then immediately we go to this G drop 2. And here's how I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about my index finger staying on the 2nd string and sliding up. Then it makes it easy for me to grab the rest of the chord. It takes a little practice, but you can get that nice slide. And we'll do it at a much slower tune, at a much slower tempo. 1, 2, 3. Now I put this in here if you want to try it. I put this little double stop here of the G and that E, because it's a knuckle buster. But it's worth working on if you're playing it slowly, because it kind of forces your hand to play a melody and still land on some harmony. We're not playing a full chord here. A full chord would be. But I think that if you can get that eventually, it's nice. Then we play a D7 here. This is something I use all the time, and I'll show you why. There's just this jump. I wish that there were an easier way of doing it, but it's just something that you're going to have to get used to. I put it in there because it's worth just learning this thing. This Cadences couldn't be, more useful, because it's just a 5 chord to the 1. But the only way to do it is to change your whole fingers. So this D chord, D7, 3-note D7, 4th string 4th fret, 3rd string 5th, 2nd string 3rd, is the exact same notes as here. But here, I'm playing the 5th string 9th, 4th string 10th, and the 3rd string 7th. If you wanted to play the exact same notes, you could go as. But here's why I'm making you do this up high. Because it's easier to go and get that melody. Otherwise, you got to walk up, and that's ridiculous. Or you could do it like that. And for those that want to try this, you can go and again land on this G first drop 2. This is a G triad. Again, remember G triad first inversion. 3, 5, and 1. Same notes as here. It's a little tricky because you have to let go of the first string. So you can just do that, which is the G and the D. One more time. You could add a D down here also, but I don't think it's necessary. And then going on, I'm going to use an open string. I'm going to come back down. Or, let's see. That's what I have written. This is something that's where you have a chance to use an open string, especially if you're playing acoustic, it's really nice to do. D7, my hand just carries through, my right hand carries through and plays that open E on the first string. And then again, this G first inversion, and then I go. This is the move that I discussed at the beginning of this chord melody part. This is something that you need to practice probably, but it's really worth getting down and understanding how to do it. Then I come to this position with my index finger, my first finger barring across the first 3 strings at the 5th fret, and my third finger getting the 2nd string at the 7th fret. Then my pinky comes up and grabs this on the 7th fret, and then I slide with the pinky, and these 2 fingers come in behind it and grab this drop 2 voicing. So that whole phrase, this is, again, it starts, the pickups start on the 4th bar of the tune, and, well, 5th bar of the tune if you include the pickup, at the beginning of the tune. And we're going into bar 6. Okay? One more time slowly. After that gives you a chance to set this up. So again, from the top. This is going between 2 versions of a drop 2, 2 inversions of a drop 2 voicing of G. The next one that we used we used this a bunch in You Are My Sunshine. The 4th string at the 5th fret, 3rd string at the 7th, 1st string at the 7th. Now watch what happens. pinky comes up, my fourth finger comes up and guides me into a diminished chord. This move, in one way or another, is a really, really common sort of thing. Going on. Now, this is a simple sort of thing, but it's really, really effective. I'm barring across the first 4 strings at the 5th fret. And then my index finger comes down and grabs the 4th string at the 4th fret, thereby making this going from a suspended sort of feeling over a D, or you can look at it as an A minor 7, to a D9. This note here on the 4th string is the 3rd of a D7 chord. So again, pickups into bar 6. You can do a pull-off as I did, or you can go. I didn't put the pull-off notation in there because I figure it's up to each person style-wise. Now going on, let's see, we are at letter B now. I have just the melody without any chords. That's something that's also really nice to do. And you can figure out as much of just single note stuff as makes sense to you, you can do in these sort of arrangements. But I wanted to include some single note passages because it's nice when you're playing this stuff, it sort of brings the listener into the melody. And, as long as you're implying enough of the harmony at different times, it's really nice to incorporate just straight up melody in, a solo guitar performance. So going into letter B again. And then this time we play. Again, this time we go, the second time we repeat it, I play a full D7 to this, and then to the D7. Now here's what I do coming out of this D7, and this is the sort of stuff that, this really is the, as far as I'm concerned, this is the really important stuff in chord melody playing, to get your playing from a place where you understand your harmony and you're able to like more or less articulate the notes, to having it really turn into music. I go. So again, my 3rd string is the string that guides me on this. And I'm going between 2 inversions of a D7, 2 versions of a D7. They're both 3-note versions, so they can't be complete, but they've got all the ingredients that you need to hear. My 3rd finger on the 3rd string guides me up and stops at the 10th fret. My 1st finger comes in and grabs, stops at the 11th fret. I knew something was wrong. My 3rd finger comes up on the 3rd string, stops at the 11th fret. My 1st finger comes down on the 4th string at the 10th fret. And my 2nd finger comes in at the 1st string at the 10th fret. Just 3 notes, but that says D7. The only thing missing is the 5. I then repeat that. And all right, so moving on, I'm going to, I just want to bring up the second page here. that's the whole first half of the tune. I'm going to play the whole first half slowly, so that, because I realize, you know, no one's going to really understand what's happening from the way I just played it. But it's important to go over each of these little moves and get this stuff under your fingers. Each of these moves are going to take a while to get together. This isn't, you know, easy stuff, but I think it's going to be really, really useful, because certainly learning to go between the different inversions of one chord have been the most important thing probably for me getting above the 3rd fret. Okay, so from the top. 1, 2, 3. That's the whole first half. That's A and B. The last line, just to talk you through a couple of things. Let's see. I'll sing the words so that you can hear where I am. Going into letter B. I laugh at the clouds so dark up above. The sun's in my... what do I have? I play a quick A7. And the way I'm fingering this is, again, just a little 3-note thing. I'm playing the 4th string at the 5th fret, 3rd string at the 6th fret, and the 1st string at the 7th, and then I pull off or strike it, however you want to do it. And then, so, from The Sun's in My Heart. The sun's in my heart, and I'm ready for love. The sun's in my heart, and I'm ready for love. This is a really nice drop 2 that we wind up on. I go. So again, I've gone from, then I play the 4th string and the 3rd string, each a fret down from where they were on the A, making this a D7. Then this drop 2 voicing. And I think this is really nice. My 2nd finger on the 3rd string comes down 1 fret, and I grab this drop 2 right here. If you want, even if you want to play it with a pick, you can go. If you strum everything open, it doesn't matter. Open E, this little G diminished, and then I slide up just the 2nd and the 3rd string and play an open E. So the whole letter B. Oh, I'll play it in chords that way. And also I see that I've got written here the D on the 12th fret. You can do it on the 12th fret, or you can do it on the 3rd string at the 7th fret. It's your call. So just on letters A and B, I've used diminished chords a couple of times. The first is I'm happy. And all that does is it really points out how a diminished chord functions. A diminished chord is simply, in this case, we're simply playing the 7 and the 3 and the 5 of a D chord that we're going to be going to, each a half step down. It's just that half step move up, but we're keeping a D in the melody. And that's where diminished chords can become really nice. And the other place that I use one is over the G when I go. And again, it's a diminished chord to a G6, because that E is in the melody. So there's one more place that you can use a diminished chord. You can go to a diminished chord where you go to the second version of a G drop 2. And this would be on the what a glorious feeling, on that word, on the ling. You can go to a diminished chord right here, a little bit early. What a glorious feeling. And that also works nicely because you can use your fourth finger on the first string, slide down right into this full 4-note diminished chord, slide the diminished chord up, and then get to the D7. Let's see. Okay, going on to letter C. So the second half. The melody. I'm just going to show, for the sake of, I hope not confusing people, but rather pointing out other ways to do this. We could do the exact same move, right? Because the melody is the same. But I'm going to go. Because this might be easier for some people. I really don't know. But here's how I'm doing it. Same D7, 3-note chord, and then open E, and then G. G, first inversion, this time on the 4th to the 2nd string. Then, this is a bit of a stretch, but it can allow you to play this really fast. And here's how I'm doing it. G, first inversion. You can look at this as an A minor. We're not even going to get into what it is. But I'm playing the 4th string at the 10th fret, 3rd string at the 9th, 2nd at the 10th. Then, with my first finger, I get the 1st string at the 7th fret. And what this does is it allows my first finger to come up to the 10th fret, and then my 3rd and my 4th finger can come in behind it, and I can make just a G triad. You can actually, let's see. Watch this. My 4th finger and my 1st finger are going to stay on the strings, and they come up here. And my 3rd finger comes in behind them and grabs a G here. This is the stuff that, you know, when I'm working on chord melody playing, I think I must have said this on the first class, I can't help but think about the magic stuff that I was obsessed with before I got really heavily into the banjo. When I was like 8 or 9, you know, like a lot of young people, I got really into magic, but I got into it because I got taken under the wing of a professional magician who was in his 80s at the time. This is a whole crazy story. But I got to meet and see perform some of the actually great living legends of close-up magic, including the great Slidini, and I got to go to his apartment. And anyway, there's a lot of stories here, but I think about magic all the time, because the idea is you want to have the minimal movement, and you want to have it create this illusion of the impossible, of tons of movement. Once you practice the moves, and with magic, I'm telling you, I would practice, like in front of the mirror, the cups and the balls and card sleights and stuff, on and on and on. Magic is very stressful. I'm glad I'm playing music now. Then we come up, our third finger guides on the fourth string. First finger grabs the first string, and then we slide up, keeping our fourth and first finger on their respective strings. So anyway, that's then how I write a couple of these things in the second version, just so you have another way of harmonizing the exact same melody. So, let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come, how do I do this? Come on with the rain. On with the rain. I see I have the B written on the 12th fret on the second string, but I still think it works better getting it on the 7th fret of the first string. Come on with the rain, I've a smile on my face, I walk, and again this is really like practice this move again and again. A 3-note version of D7 to this other 3-note version of D7, using your third finger on the third string to guide you and give a little slide. I walk down the lane with a happy refrain. I'm singing, just singing in the rain. This is a little tricky at the very end. I'm singing, just singing. I'm going from an A7, just singing, to a D. If you want to do a full version of a D13, you can do that. Do a G7. The reason why I keep doing these little 3-note voicings is because I want to be able to get around easy. And in this case, this is tricky to go and have it harmonized. I could go, but that's a lot of movement. And I want to have this really seamless so that I can play it fast if I want to. So I'm going. It still involves lifting your index finger and getting it over here for a quick D, but then you're positioned to play this 3-note version. It's already built in. So again, letters C and D, the whole second half. And then we'll come back. I'm going to point out one thing that I didn't include on this. I couldn't resist put one kind of crazy variation in here, and I'll explain it. But letters C and D. 1, 2, 3. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come on with the rain. I've a smile on my face. I walk down the lane with a happy That's C and D. So what I didn't put in there, and I wrote a sort of simplified version of it, but I'm going to show you kind of what I might actually play on a gig, and it involves a little bit more internal movement. It happens in letter B, and if we go by the numbering on the chart, it's bar 14. So I'll start at the beginning of B so that you can hear where it is, and I'll sing in quotations because this isn't really a good key for me. I'll sing the words so that you know. Also, just it's going to make it easier to follow along. I laugh at the clouds, so dark up above. Here it comes. The sun's. Oh, right. Is that right? That's right. I put a little D7 there too. I mean A7 before we get to the D. My heart. All right, I guess I didn't put in this crazy little thing. So I'll show you the crazy little thing because I did show everybody that. Here's a little option, a little variation. This is how we've played it. We'll do the diminished. That's the variation. That's even more 1920 style jazz harmony, and I can't resist but throw it in because I love this kind of stuff. And you're not going to start hearing it if someone doesn't play it for you. So I'll talk you through it, but honestly, if it sounds really crazy or if it seems too hard, don't worry about it. But I think that it's good to start hearing this sort of stuff. What I'm doing is I'm barring across the same as before, and I'm getting this melody the same as before using my fourth finger, but my second and my third fingers are coming in, so I'm making this an A7 with a sharp 5. Then I just bar making this an A minor 7 or making it a D suspension. And then finally, I resolve to the D. So you can do this at any point when it goes, I laugh at the clouds, or when it goes, I walk down the lane, you can substitute this. So that's just a little variation. We've got a little bit of time. Any questions before we leave Singin' in the Rain? If people do have questions on this stuff, you can write me. Either write through Peghead Nation or Matt Munisteri at Gmail, and it'll reach me, and I'll answer stuff in the next week. What were you going to say, Dan? I'm sorry.
Pegheadnation.com. There's workshops at pegheadnation.com. I'm just putting that email address in there for you. Stephen just said the variation is in C. It's in the C section.
I did put it in the C. Yeah, I did. You're right. Yep. So that's a little variation that I threw in. Just you can do it as often or as little, but I wanted to include it once because it's just cool. And like I said, it's good to hear it. Because that's how your ears start, getting used to all these internal movement. I might go, I'm sorry. That's a very common thing. get all this kind of stuff in other tunes. But I just want to get people's ears used to like, oh, there's other little things going on in the harmonies. And it's possible to do. You can finger this stuff and it's not that hard.
There's a question of, is the variation in bar 24?
Yep, that's where it is. Yep. I just, rather than wear glasses or move this into the camera, the music, I kind of, I get the basic gist from my music. But, you know, it's more important to me, honestly, it's much more important to me to talk everyone through this stuff. Talk you through the fingering so you understand how to do it. Because I personally learn very badly from the printed page. I sound it out. It doesn't really help me. But if I know what the physical move is, or it really, really helps me. So that's why, you know, understanding that you can use these things interchangeably. You can go, and you can do that for the rest of your life, and it's beautiful and it's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. But if sometimes you want to try a little something different, you can go, or I do stuff like, I might go, guns in my heart and I'm ready for you. That's, you know, borrowing a little bit from Art Tatum, I think. But
And Nathan did, regarding the fingering, said it'd be helpful to add the fingering, and I'm assuming he's talking about on that
on the page,
yeah.
I'm showing you. You've got it close up, and you've got it. You know, you're welcome to write it in, but you know, this is how I think it makes sense. I know everyone's going to do this stuff differently. If it really does make sense to you to learn, if you're a good enough reader that it makes sense to look at this and see the fingering written in like a classical music notation, then obviously you're familiar with classical music, classical guitar notation, and so have at it. It doesn't really help me. If I look at a classical guitar thing, I'm always changing the fingering anyway.